For my communications project, I chose to do the verbal and nonverbal side of it all. I also want to open this up by saying that this culture is extremely big on nonverbal communication, and verbal communication at times can be a sign of disrespect. With that being said, that's already right there a difference in culture between the Vietnam and American culture. Because in America, we're very big on verbal communication to actually express how we feel, and the Vietnam culture is extremely against that. Next, I'm going to give a little background on the Vietnam culture, which is Vietnamese that they speak, and it also has 6 different tones for each symbol. Um, and the tone different is very important because each tone has a definition to it all. So one word having 4 different tones can be 4 different meanings for it. This is why at times foreigners have a challenge actually speaking the language and then even actually learning the language. So that right there just kind of gives you an example how complex it actually is of a language when you try to learn it and speak it. That's probably why they don't actually use it. So next we're going to define nonverbal, and that is communicating through means other than language. So we kind of know what we're talking about when we say that. And then we have verbal communication, and this is use of words, and this is use of sounds and words to express and communicate. As I'm doing right now, I'm using verbal communication to do my project. Next, we're going to do verbal examples. Now, like I said before, they take it as an insult if you actually do use verbal communication. Speaking before thinking in Vietnamese culture is considered to be a harmful action without any thought to the outcome. So I found this quote that I thought was pretty straight to the point. They actually say it in their culture. It says, "To eat, one must chew. To speak, one must think." So that right there kind of hits home of if you really want something to say, you must think about it because any little wrong thing can be very harmful to someone and actually get you in trouble. Also, I found on there that if a woman speaks in soft tone, it's a sign of respect. But if she has a high volume in her speech, it is considered a negative tone for anyone. It can be any woman of any stature. Most of them speak in very soft, monotone voices. That was also something that's very different from the American culture because women in our culture are very powerful and they speak how they please. And yeah, so I thought that was kind of a crazy one. To kind of explain how they have different tones for these words, I found an example. It's ma, ma. So we have one that says ma without tone is considered ghost, which is kind of odd because I never would have thought ma means ghost. Then we have ma with rising tone means mother. Then the next one is ma and falling tone means that. And the last one is ma with falling then rising tone means horse. So ma and emphasizing the a at the end is going to mean horse. So right there is an example of how complex actually the language can be when you're trying to use it. I wouldn't even know how to start to say that because just the way that you rise your tone or fall your tone means a different meaning in the word. Next, we have a nonverbal examples, and this is what they're most likely doing to each other when they do communicate. So one that kind of stood out to me was eye contact. So eye contact in that culture is looked down upon. Giving someone eye contact that is a higher status or age is considered to be a sign of disrespect. For example, if a student is in class and he is not making eye contact and he is very quiet while the teacher is doing a lecture or showing examples, that's considered a sign of respect. When I heard that, I was completely shocked because in American culture, if you're in class and you're not giving a teacher eye contact and you're not, you know, uh, verbal verbalizing with her or not saying anything, that could be a sign of definitely not paying attention, definitely not being engaged in the lecture. So right there is another opposite from that culture to our culture. The next one is smiling, and this one was kind of weird because smiling is a sign of apology. So that was kind of odd as well. For example, if a student walked into a Vietnam classroom late and disrupted the classroom and made a scene, he would give the teacher a simple smile to represent that he was sorry for actually making that entry and actually disrupting the class. which is amazing because if I was a student and I walked in late to my teacher's class and I simply gave him a smile, I'm pretty sure I would definitely get detention for that if I was in high school still, because he definitely wouldn't appreciate me smiling at him, me walking in late, making a scene. So right there, from American to Vietnam, another big difference between them. Then we have shaking hands. Now, shaking hands in America is something you do when you meet someone or you that has you respect. You kind of give them a firm handshake, look them in the eye. But in Vietnam, they do have that friendly handshake, but one thing they do not believe in is having a handshake between a man and a woman in Vietnam culture. That is looked at as a social no-no. They don't believe in that because they believe the women are not as powerful as the men at times. So that shows that a woman would be on the same level as a man, and is not accepted. What they do believe in is a Vietnamese woman can shake a non-Vietnamese man's hand because it is not in the same culture. It is not of the same person at that statue. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. When doing this project, I really didn't think that the cultures of America and Vietnam would be so different, nor did I expect the Vietnam culture to be so nonverbal. Before doing this, I really didn't know much about the Vietnam culture, so I was kind of open minded. But to actually think that they do not really to like talk, because it's kind of a big deal if you don't show respect before talking, and that's so opposite of America because we are built on the land of freedom of speech. So we talk when we communicate. We say what's on our mind, even if it is harmful or disrespectful at times. We've been taught since day one to say what you have to say to get your point across. And looking at the Vietnam culture, that is a complete opposite, because with that being done, that is showing signs of disrespect. And that right there is just it was just funny to me and amazing to see how different our cultures can be. So yeah, with that being said, that concludes my presentation, and thank you for your time.